what happened to Rotary around the world, what happened in Australia, had a lot to do with public relations. So, I'm going to take you on a nice road. Do you know this, what this is? You're sure it's not a tomato? You're sure? Apple. So what does this stand for? What do you know about this one? Computers, okay? Bad ones, okay. Okay. How many of you have an Apple phone? Oh, how many got a Samsung phone? Any other phone other than those two? One. You know anything about this?
Just do it.
Nike, what's it for? What? Golf shoes. What comes to your mind?
Sports.
Sorry? Sports. Anything else? Expensive. Yeah. The man who formed this company, Nike, was a mathematics teacher at University of Portland in Oregon. So Graham can also take on to starting a sports company. And this was designed by one of the design students of the University of Portland. And he asked, how much do you want? Caroline said, give me $35. That's all he paid for this logo. But he said, I may not like it, but I'll get used to it. There's a lot of story. This one, what do you think of this one? What do you remember? So what does it say about? Benz for what? Expensive cars? All right. This one? What do you know about Shell? You don't buy cars here, right?
Expensive.
Or you go to this oil. Okay. All right. Here they are. You know about this, right? This 3 pointers, the domination on earth, on land, sea, and air. But this has been there from a long time. This one?
Right.
Do you know this man? This is the world's second most recognized face on earth after Queen Elizabeth in England. Who is this? You know this? And why do we go there? Do we supermarket here or do we pump any petrol here? No, what for? You know their slogan? What's their slogan? Finger licking good. Wow, very good. And okay, this was a logo created in 1950s. This man is Rotarian Colonel Sanders from the Rotary Club of Louisville in Tennessee. I don't know whether you know that he was a Rotarian. And if you see his pictures on his white jacket, he would always wear the Rotary lapel pin. How many of you are wearing it? All right. This one. Oh, so where is it written? It's not written, right? But you know it. Starbucks or what? Coffee. Good. This one? Wow, is it Pepsi? Let's see that. Is it really Pepsi? You had a Pepsi can here? Okay. Oh, thank you. So it's funny, you know, we used to have Pepsi Max, but now they can have it without the name and you recognize it. Okay, I'm not going far. You know this logo? Very well. You know this? Do you go here to buy photocopy paper? Okay. This logo is familiar. Do you know what do they stand for? What comes to your mind? Fresh food. Excellent. Governor Craig Winter was, I believe, according to what I know, he was the National Communications Manager, right, for Woolworths? So his communication is working. It's fresh food, yeah. Last one. FedEx. What comes to your mind? Okay. Do you see anything in this logo? Oh, good. The white arrow. It's a white arrow. This is the most forward-going logo ever. But you know what comes? You recognize all these logos without their names. What is this for? What does it stand for? Anything?
Community service.
Service. Okay, good. What comes to your mind? What does this logo? What is it? What comes to your mind? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry? Polio Plus? Coming from a district governor elect? What comes to your mind? Trust. Okay? We are getting better. Okay? President of Ashmore? What comes to your mind? Steering wheel on a boat. Daryl? Anything you want? What comes to your mind? It doesn't come to your mind. Charity? Ethics? Okay. Anything else? Any more? Yeah. Asking questions. What comes to your mind? Sausage sizzles at Bunnings. Integrity. Doing good in the world. Now see, this is what I call the confusion of Rotary. Right? The confusion. I am a brand specialist. I've been the public relations manager for Unilever, one of the largest companies in the world, and with Norwegian TV for 7 years. We built brands. We created an image. So what happened earlier is when I showed you Apple, when I showed you Nike, you exactly knew what it was. You knew the product, you knew what it was doing. But we as Rotarians, we look at a Rotary logo and we ourselves are confused with what this message is. You know, as marketing people, public relations people, what we do is we have a simple message. That's what we want. Now, if we are this confused, how confused can the outside world be? And this is the challenge we have. People need to recognize us with a simple message. And what do? 2 days ago, somebody in the US was asking on Facebook, can I get a high definition file of this logo? Doing good in the world, and if you put this in a newspaper, what will happen? It will be utter confusion. You know, what happens is all these big brands that you saw just now, from Apple to Nike to KFC, all, they have spent billions and billions of dollars onto this brand building. But on a simple message, Nike, Phil Knight clearly said, I want to have a shoe that will fly. And when he asked for the logo, he said, give me a logo that will fly. So the 20-year-old girl, Caroline, drew the swoosh, which was the inspiration. Nike is the flying goddess of victory. And that was that, Nike. And then he got Michael Jordan, who could fly in the basketball court, as his ambassador. And he stuck to that message, excellence, victory. Now you can just imagine, if I look around, see how many different badges we have from our clubs. And if we go out, the public will be so confused. Rotary Club of this, Rotary Club of that, Rotary Club of this. They get confused. So we lose the attraction power. You need to attract the attention. When I showed you Apple, you got attracted. When I showed you Woolworths, you immediately said, you know, that's what we love to hear as marketing people. When you say what it stands for, fresh food people. I don't work for Woolworths, but I admire their communication. They are not the most profitable company. But see, how branding goes, image. So what I'm trying to work out is our image of Rotary. We started in 1905. We talk about it. We go back to history. We are like a museum of good deeds. It may not take us to the future. We have two Rotaractors here, Jamie and Emma. They joined Rotaract because they saw a Rotary Club having a road show at Pacific Fair. Jamie had gone to Ryla, but Emma worked at Pacific Fair. While walking, she saw this logo, right, on a board, and said, I want to join Rotary. But of course, we sent them to the Burley Heads Rotaract Club, the active members. How are you? Yes, I don't know. When I asked Jamie whether the last session was very helpful to you, he said, not to me. So anyway, image is all about it, because Emma recognized the Rotary logo, not the logo of a Rotary Club. So it's very important. Now see, I'll show you one very interesting thing. One of the logos, this one, McDonald's. Wherever the McDonald's is, it's McDonald's. It's not McDonald's Burley Heads, it's not Burley Waters, it's not Rockhampton, it's not Townsville. But do you know that all the McDonald's franchises out of the US are owned by individual franchisees? It's not owned by McDonald's Corporation. But there's one rule. The Vice President of Branding will not allow them to change this logo or the colors or to put any other word. Now that is what sometimes we lack in an organization like Rotary. That's why Terry or someone said we won't live beyond 2084. Most of us won't live. But, but we may not, because you need a branding champion, you need an image champion. We have a Vice President of Rotary International, a lady from Canada called Jennifer Jones. Hopefully she may be the first woman President of Rotary International. Hopefully. That's my time to stop. Okay? She's asking us in the Rotarian and the RDU, how come Rotary can't be like Starbucks and Pepsi and Nike be recognized? We cannot, because individual clubs are changing their logos, their styles, until one day we come and say all clubs, all organizations has to have only this. You can imagine the impact if all of us wore this lapel pin, only with this lapel pin with Rotary, 1.3 million people walking around, how many eyeballs will catch us for a day? And can you say that will attract? What is it? We have young Anthony is here. Anthony from the club. Okay, he's a young man who is here. He asked me, Andy, how can we join Rotary? Simply because they were impressed with all of you personally. But we need to impress the public with an image, with a message, simple message. And Rotary has created, after a long time, we spent a lot of money. I'm not going to tell you how much. RI spent a lot of money to get this word in front of the logo. It's a couple of millions. And we created now a positioning. Like you said, fresh food people, Nike for victory. Rotary has something. We have a positioning statement. We say we bring leaders together. We say we share ideas. We say we take action. But I want to leave that challenge of how we go about that to the expert in that area, Amanda, who will take over from there.
Quick question. When someone says to you that when they think of Rotary, they think of old, male, pale, and stale, does that outrage you? Are you outraged by that? Is it accurate? I'm glad to hear that people are outraged by that. Because we should be completely raging against that statement. I certainly know that from everything that I have experienced in Rotary, particularly when it comes to projects and particularly when it comes to looking at those projects on an international scale and the outcomes that we've delivered and the impacts we've had, that is so far from being old, male, pale and stale. Rotary as a brand, it is not who we are. So if we want to change our image, we have to change our story and how we speak about Rotary. So as I mentioned before in the social media talk, the power to actually create this story is all in your hands. It's under your control. And that's what I want to talk about today. So as Andy just mentioned, Rotary does actually have a value proposition. Can anyone, he just said it, can anyone say it back? There's service above self, yes, but the value proposition for Rotary, what is, I'll give you a hint, it's on your books. Can I grab that for 2 seconds? Sorry. Top right-hand corner. Let me ask you this: if someone came up to you, or someone came up to me and said, "Oh, this Rotary thing, what is it, and what is it that you do?" and I said, "Oh, we go to Bunnings on a weekend and we cook some sausages. We have a good sausage sizzle." Or if someone came to me and said, well, what is Rotary? And I said, we join leaders, we exchange ideas, and we take action. Boom! That's so much better. So much better than saying that we go on a weekend and cook up some sausages on a barbecue. Now, I understand that this good old sausage sizzle is at the heart of a lot of clubs, but let me just say this, the sausage sizzle itself is just a mechanism, okay? It's not actually what we do. What we do is what the money that we get off the sausage sizzles and the impact that we have in the community, that's what we do. We don't actually do sausage sizzles, if that makes sense. So in terms of the value proposition, in terms of telling our Rotary story, there's three ways that you do that. So first of all, it's by talking about Rotary's value proposition in general, which is what we just said, which is on the top right-hand corner of your books. It's then being able to talk about what the value proposition of your clubs are. So what makes your club unique? What's your signature project? Why would someone want to go to your club and not the club down the road? And that's what our clubs really need to be clear about, because then the clubs need to start telling their story as well. So you're going to lead, you might lead with, the actual Rotary value proposition, but then you've got to draw that down and be able to say, okay, at a club level, what is it that we can offer you? Sharing the good news stories from our club is absolutely fundamental. Fundamental. Again, and it's sharing it in a way where we're talking about our impact. What also is really fundamental is ensuring that whatever else is going on in the world, we're actually linking our story into that. So a couple of years ago, I was involved with a consumer behaviour campaign for the Victorian State Government. And it was all around, it's called Choose the Right Water for the Job. And it was all about encouraging households to harvest rainwater from their roofs and to use that throughout their gardens and also to put it through the home, so through their washing machines and through their toilets. And it was a really simple campaign. But what we did, we always led with that main value proposition, and that was choose the right water for the job. And the whole idea was to stop people using drinking water for the purposes that I just mentioned. So it's all about being mindful of what you're doing. And I was in charge of the social media campaign for, as well as a few other things. But with the social media campaign, what I would always do is keep an eye on what was happening in the world. So if, for instance, there was a charity and there was like a big flower day or something like that, well, I would actually go and Google the growers, Victorian growers for that particular flower. More often than not, I would actually find out that they were harvesting rainwater from their roofs in order to grow those lovely flowers. And then I would actually turn my post into acknowledging that particular organisation and saying, hey, they're doing great work by choosing the right water for the job. Rotary needs to keep weaving their story into what is happening in the world at the moment. So the Olympics, for instance, there's an opportunity there for anyone who has done work in Fiji recently, particularly if it's around building communities, helping kids stay in sport, to link it with the great success of like the rugby sevens. So why would you not go and put a post or share a story about all the great work that your club's done in Fiji, and hey, guess what? We're helping to build potentially the next generation of the rugby sevens team. Why not? What else is going on in the world that you can, that you can link what it is that you're doing and draw the stories out? Think about it. You can get a bit creative sometimes, but it's there and it's available to you. And that's exactly what all the top marketers are doing with they're looking for every single opportunity that they can to get their story out. The next part in terms of the value proposition is being able to tell, and we've already touched on this today, but it's such a big one, is to be able to tell your Rotary story. Because in telling that, that's your personal value proposition. What's coming out of those stories are the benefits of Rotary membership. So I saw a lot of you write it down earlier in the breakout session. You were talking about building community, building professional and personal networks. You were talking about helping out and doing good in the community. You were talking about learning new skills or potentially utilising the current skills that you've got in new ways throughout Rotary. And expanding the personal development networks as well. It's all there. And through your stories, that is actually what you are giving out as a value proposition to potential members. So it's really important that we're able to talk about Rotary from the main overriding value proposition, which is the join leaders, exchange ideas and take action. Then being able to talk about what it is that your club does and what your club stands for. And then being able to then share your own Rotary story. There is nothing more powerful than a testimonial. Your personal Rotary story is a testimonial. There are businesses that live or die on testimonial. We need to start flooding the market with all these wonderful testimonials about what Rotary does. Because the more we do that, I can guarantee you it is going to completely drown out old, male, pale or stale. And that's in effect what we've got to do. We've got to drown it out with all these other stories. So if you want to change the image, let's change the story, and it's completely up to us. And I just want to emphasise as well something that another speaker said earlier today, in terms of it's our responsibility to ensure people have the same experience that we have, and that's completely true. So from a marketing perspective, we do, as Rotarians, absolutely have the responsibility to ensure that we attract people to our club through telling our stories. Once we get people in the club, ensure that they then create their own story and then they share it with others. So that's a process that I refer to as attract, enact, and then activate. Because once you activate people to start telling their stories, it completely snowballs. It grows. And let's be honest, the world is craving, absolutely craving, authentic, compelling, good news stories. And you only have to look at the latest Olympic coverage to see how that's actually the case. Okay, what made headlines? Sure, the people that are getting mugged but not really getting mugged. Yes, that's there. But what else is there? That wonderful story about an Olympian, two girls tripping on the track and one helping the other one up. We're craving these stories. And Rotary has a whole heap of them. And when you bundle them all together, you realise we're actually talking about joining leaders, exchanging ideas and taking action. Thank you.
My name's Craig Winter. I'm Governor of 9570 and I'm a branding Nazi. One thing that Rotary has taught me very, very quickly over the last couple of months is that I can't be a branding Nazi. For the pure fact that the clubs have a lot of assets, there's a lot of resistance to changing over to the new logo immediately. So I've come up with my own solution, which I'll show you very, very shortly. The first thing I want to emphasise about corporate image is that there's a lot more to corporate image than just the logo and the colours. The corporate image can include, video, sound, photos, pictures, cartoons, but it can also include how your members conduct themselves out in public as well. It's all part of the big deal. So I'm going to talk a bit about my story first in my district. Traditionally, we spend a lot of money in other avenues. They're not always very useful to us in regional areas. If we were in Sydney and Melbourne, of course, we're a completely different market. So what I did this year is I've kept the district absolutely insular. We've kept all our money to ourselves. I've produced a very, very cheap TV ad that is getting coverage right across our district from Maryborough up to Mackay and out to Longreach. And we're getting about 6 months worth out of there. I have a bit of a bonus in that I'm a very big media buyer, so I get a lot of bonus spots. So I thought we'd make use of that. The production is very, very cheap. It does have consistent corporate branding, as you'll see. And to go with it, we've also produced a 15 to 30 second radio ad, which we've sent out to all the stations, not buying anything. They've picked it up, and for free, 10 stations around the country are playing that for us right now, which leads us into a new district website, a new membership website, and a few other bits and pieces as well. So hopefully this will play somewhere. Do we have any sound? No? Yes. We didn't expect. I didn't expect this to have sound. That's right. Yep. That's right. We've got no sound, but we'll stick right there. Just pretend you heard that. It's a great sounding ad. The Rotarian voiceover is fantastic. Ex-radio guy in my club did a fantastic job. No, all right, just... A couple of things you'll notice about the ad is the photos montage in the middle is taken from district photos that I've garnered from all of our clubs. One of the things that I budgeted for in my year is, as I'm doing the official visits, because I'm a branding Nazi and because I know the clubs aren't particularly good at it, I'm presenting each club with a 3-metre outdoor banner that I have branded for them. Simple enough. And over on one side is a photo of a project or something else they're doing around their town that's a bit of a conversation starter. So a 3-metre outdoor banner is made to fit on the front of a 3-metre marquee, obviously, and that sort of thing. A couple of things that are happening here is there is a joinrotarytoday.org. Our district website is called Rotary 9570, and Rotary 9570 means absolutely nothing to anyone that's not a Rotarian, so we don't use that. We use Join Rotary Today. It's a call to action in the thing. People can remember it easily. They go to this website. This is just a jump-in page on our district site, and it gives them a club finder and about 20 words of information and some really sexy little photos and things, which I'll show you shortly. They go to the club finder. We then send them the details of the 2 closest Rotary clubs to their address, and it's up to them to make a bit of contact with them and see where they go from there. The TV ad's been running for 7 weeks now, and I have put forward 6 Rotarians that have joined clubs, 6 prospects that have joined clubs, and by the end of next month I will have inducted 38 new Rotarians into the district. So I'm not suggesting that's always going to happen, but if we can make it happen a couple of times, and the corporate imaging is doing its job. The other thing I've done there as well is you'll notice the logo says Central Queensland, for exactly the same reason that normally it would say Rotary 9570. Means nothing to anyone that's other a Rotarian, right? So our district website went through a few changes. We had a particularly stodgy template that somebody's picked up from Joomla or one of these freebies, which is invariably what we do in Rotary. And being a bit of a branding Nazi, I thought this is ridiculous. I had a look at the statistics from the website. We get almost 100,000 people a year land on it. Mostly not by design, mostly by accident. But we've only got 1,200 members in our district. And out of those 1,200 members in the district, I would suggest that probably 40 of them actually have any business being on the district website. Your normal members don't go there for any particular reason generally. As much as you would like to think they do, they don't. The 40 members that do go there aren't interested in what it looks like. They only want a form, download a directory, look up an email address, that sort of thing. The other 90,000 people that accidentally get there don't want to see some template with the governor's ugly mug on the front of it with boring statistics about the district. They want to see what we're doing. So we've picked a lovely hero shot up the top there of the Longreach Club, describing exactly what they do. Cooking a barbecue in the middle of nowhere out at Longreach. It's very, very Queensland. But you'll notice a big rotary wheel as well. The big rotary wheel is the only thing I really need them to see. Because once they see that, it's branded. There are plenty of other things they can go, there are plenty of other places they can go from there. But that's working well as well. We've increased traffic to that site by about 48% already over the last 6 weeks. But that's what you get for having a decent looking website. So whenever you're building these things, you need to think of who's running into it accidentally and what their impression might be, because your members don't care. It's not there for them. It's there for the other 98% who get there as well. This is one of my little banners that I've been dropping around to the clubs, slowly but surely. Correctly branded. It's got the call to action on it. It's got the website, and it features a photo of some Rotarians doing something that's instantly recognisable around the place. I have to say, Rotary clubs have some very, very strange ideas about what makes a good photo. I was actually going to show a photo, but I thought someone might be here from that club, so I'm not going to. I'll just describe it instead. I put out a general blanket call to all the clubs, and I said, send me your 2 best photos that describes your club that you would like the public to see. One of which I was going to use for the TV ad, which we did in the montage. The other one which we use on the banner here. One club sent me a photo of 2 90-something-year-old ladies, very drunk, outdoors, wearing silly hats, and one of them had her hand down her own top. Try and picture that in your brain. Put that on the banner there, and tell me what sort of corporate image that projects. Is that a club you want to go and join? Well, okay, some of you, yes, I know, I understand it. But no, most of us not, all right? So there has been some vast negotiation over photos for these banners. The idea of the banner and the photo is there's obviously some consistency throughout the district. All clubs own marketing assets that they're not willing to change at the moment. As they need new banners, they'll put new branding on there. They'll get there eventually, and that's fine. That's about all you can expect from a Rotary club. So that's what we've produced. We've got the new websites, the new banners, the radio and the TV. If anyone's got a decent voice in their club, a good professional voice, or in their district, get them to produce these radio ads. Just email them out to the radio stations. The stations will play them for nothing because you're Rotary. Simply for that. I want to talk a bit about engaging people with corporate image, I suppose, and the need to pick your demographic. Just harking back to the photos that we've seen for some of the banners, there is absolutely no point when you're using the corporate image of showing a photo of 2 90-year-olds enjoying dinner if you're trying to attract a younger crowd. There is no point showing 2 drunk women in a field if you're trying to attract professionals. Sometimes the only decision you need to make on your corporate imaging is what photo goes along with the branding. The branding's already there. You can download it from the website. All the resources are there. You can create your own logos. There's templates for websites, but the photos need to come from you. Being an old advertising guy, I spent many, many years convincing my clients to use library photos instead of using their staff, because your staff are always, well, they're not always good looking, they're not always dressed properly, they're not always looking intelligent. When you take the photo, you can't really use it for marketing. So for years I told people to use library shots. I hate library shots now. I've seen so many of them that they do nothing for me. And I tell you what, when you're sitting in a club out at Longreach and you see a Rotary ad that's got a happy black family cavorting along the beach in San Diego, you don't really engage with it. You've got to try and find a good library of shots out of your local district that you can use, even if they're not perfect. As soon as somebody sees something from your own district sitting there, technology, gotta love it. Nothing will go wrong during this presentation. Once you engage with them, once they see those photos that's alongside your corporate branding, they'll start to believe you. And as soon as they start to believe you, you can start to tell your story and actually make some inroads for it. I want to talk briefly about positive messages that go with our corporate imaging. I have a real problem at the moment about this, the membership issue message that we keep sending to people. We talk about it everywhere. We talk about it in our clubs. We talk about it out on the street. We need to put a positive bent on anything we talk about in Rotary, especially membership and things like that. If I was to talk to you about Myers, a lot of people shop at Myers, right? If we started a rumour that Myers wasn't doing real well, they couldn't retain their staff, it was an awful place to go because there was just no one there, you'd stop shopping there. So what we're telling people is community service organisations have membership problems. Please come and join a failing organisation. That's what the public hears. We don't have to say that we have membership issues. Not every club has membership issues. Some of them do. My club doesn't. We've got good sustainability, we've got plenty of members. There's a lot of clubs that are doing very, very well out there, so don't for a minute think that everyone is doing badly. The ones that are doing badly, instead of saying we have membership problems, we should be saying our club needs more feet on the ground to do more good in the world. Many hands make light work. There's a million ways you can be positive and put a positive message over. There is absolutely no point using the Rotary brand or the corporate imaging with a negative implication at the end of it, because that's what people will remember. I tell you what, I've seen newspaper interviews with Rotarians who tell them that Rotary is dying. It's ridiculous, and it's actually brought around quite a bit of change in our district, the way we deal with the media, because we need to stop saying that stuff. Just a couple of quick words on the elevator speech. I can go all day, but I'm not going to, it's all right. When I was in San Diego, they make governors do a lot of breakout sessions. 20 people sitting around a table sharing stories and doing all that sort of stuff. Some of it's good, some of it's not particularly good. There was a breakout session on the elevator speech and about our Rotary moment. And everyone around the table stood up and they gave us a Rotary moment. Every person at that table got up and gave a very, very well-rehearsed, scripted, beautiful story about dying orphans in train wrecks with Rotarians leaping out of planes to save lives and feed families and all that sort of thing. Your Rotary moment doesn't always have to be something like that. My story, I don't have a Rotary moment like that. I couldn't think of anything, and they actually give you a couple of hours to prepare for it, to go away and think of something. I couldn't think of a cracker. My Rotary story, and I'm not going to go into details, but revolves around the fact that I found 34,000 people in Australia who think like I do and can do the same stuff that I want to do and can help me get there. That was my Rotary moment. It was like an epiphany when I found Rotary. It was fantastic. It's a good Rotary moment, but it doesn't involve dying orphans. So your elevator speech doesn't have to be one of these earth-shattering Rotary moments. What it does need to be is it needs to be genuine, and it needs to come from the heart. When you're explaining to people what Rotary is about and why they should join, they don't care about statistics, they don't care about your corporate imaging, they don't care about anything else. What they care about is your personal story about why you joined and why you stayed there. That's it. And once you can make them believe that, once you can engage with them and get them to listen to that story, you're there. You're 90% of the way there as it is.